hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And it's the best day of the week where we start to get into the next week's matchups. Thursday night has come and gone, and I already got one of my predictions wrong. So I'll start out with that. I had predicted, I'm going to be predicting the Thursday night matchup in my breakdown of the games of the last week because I'm coming up with these on Friday, and obviously I'm not going to get them out in time, so I'm just predicting the Thursday night matchup in that video. And in that video, I predicted the Chargers would win, and unfortunately, due to that, pick six from Justin Herbert at the very start of the fourth quarter, it kind of unraveled from there. Hopefully, Justin Herbert is okay, but I already got that one wrong, so fingers crossed that everything is going to work out there. But I did get the very first one of the week wrong, so we're off to a fantastic start. But we're going to start things off kind of just going over all these matchups, predicting winners and losers. One more reminder, if you like the content that I put out, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. And I'm hoping to get into posting these to my podcast on Spotify too, just as like an audio version. I know I said I would do that, and I'm working on doing that too. So once that is available, maybe this one will be available. I'll put it in this video if it is, and you can go ahead and listen to it in your car or on your way to work, wherever you want to listen to it. But for now, it's just video. And we're going to start things off, Jets at Browns. And again, just a reminder, I write every single one of these predictions down so that I can have a frame of reference to tell you how right or wrong I was, and I hold myself completely accountable to these predictions. So, Browns hosting the Jets. And I think that people are going to start jumping on the Browns bandwagon, which is something that I hope people don't end up doing with all the things they've supported in the past few weeks and months going into the offseason. But people are going to jump on their bandwagon saying, okay, well, Nick Chubb can just carry them all the way through the season. And I'm trying to think, is there another team that always says that their all-star running back is going to lead them to the postseason and beyond, and then they can't do it because as soon as they stack the box against that running back, the passing game can do nothing. Of course, I'm talking about the Titans, and it never works out for them either. And the Titans at least can get some games won in the regular season. The Browns, I don't think, are as capable of doing that because they just don't have even close to as many offensive weapons around them at all, nor is their defense good enough to keep that same consistency and dependability. And Jacoby Brissett, granted, he didn't really even have to feel like he needed to do anything in that game because Chubb was just going off like crazy. But still, Brissett didn't look great. And keep in mind, if Chubb ever struggles in a game, they're going to have to rely on Jacoby Brissett to lead this team to a victory, and it's just not going to happen. So I think this team will win enough games to, get maybe 5 or 6 wins due to Chubb. But any game that they can't rely on them, they're going to be in big trouble. This one, however, the Jets, they didn't put up much of a fight against the Ravens. And I do have a Browns loss, I'm sure, in the very near future. As soon as they go up against any decent team, I'll probably pick them to lose. But I think the Browns will go to 2-0, and it'll be a very inflated or conflated or whatever that word is, 2-0, because they, I think, are definitely still a bottom 10 team. Especially if Nick Chubb doesn't deliver for them in any given game. So I will predict the Browns in this one, but begrudgingly I pick them because, again, don't have much faith in them. Commanders at Lions. This is a tough one because I thought the Jaguars would get it done against the Commanders, and they almost did. And now the Commanders kind of sweated out a win. They're feeling kind of good. Carson Wentz actually played well. I think this is all kind of a concoction that's going to lead to the Commanders giving away a loss in this game. I think that the Lions are going to pick up this win and improve to 1-1, and they're going to have a lot of momentum going into Week 3. I think that the Lions looked honestly really good against the Eagles. Obviously, their defense was kind of lackluster, but their offense looked really good. I love DeAndre Swift in that game. And let's be honest, the Commanders really just held on against a very lackluster Jaguars team. So I said going into the season that I wanted to pick the Lions whenever I got the opportunity to, and this is a game that I feel fairly confident that they can maybe get an upset, even though in this game the line has Detroit projected to win, so it really isn't even much of an upset at this point. But give me the Lions in this game. Again, another one at home. Buccaneers at the Saints. This is a tough one because the Saints have a lot of mojo going into their week 2, going off of that big comeback win against the Falcons. But I do think that's actually going to go against them a little bit whenever you have a game like that where you get this big comeback victory, a game that you feel like maybe you didn't deserve to win, or you just feel really good about the fact you came back. Whatever it is, that can get in your head too much. And if you channel it in a bad way, it can result in a really bad game. You can come stumbling out of the gate real quickly after a win like that. And I think that'll happen to the Saints here. They might either get a little overconfident or just let the fact that they stole that game away get in their heads. Not to mention the fact that it's still Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They're going to be without multiple offensive weapons, including Godwin. I think they have an offensive tackle hurt as well. But I do still believe in the Buccaneers to get this win, just because I don't know if that the comeback nature of that win is going to prove very helpful for the Saints. So give me the Bucs in this one. I still need to see a little more from the Saints. I was definitely proven wrong in week 1. Jameis actually took care of the ball really well, but I just need to see a tiny bit more before I start believing in them more. Panthers at Giants. I think that the Giants are being overhyped way too much going off of their week 1 win. Yes, they had a really gutsy call by Dable. Going for 2, they get ahead by 1, but they still would have lost if the Titans had made that kick. I mean, they still let the Titans march all the way down the field and set up a game winner. They just happened to miss the kick, and that's why the Giants won. So they should be 0-1 right now. And people are acting like, obviously they are kind of on the way up. Saquon Barkley starting to play better. And I do think that their win week 1 showed the potential of this team. But I still don't think that they're going to be, favorites to take any substantial leap this season. I think they'll go from whether they win 3-4 games last season, maybe they'll win 5 or 6 this season, maybe. But I'm going to pick the Panthers to win this game. I think Mayfield has a little bit of a bounce back game. I think Robbie Anderson is going to have a really good game as well. I don't trust this Giants defense enough yet, not to mention the fact that Daniel Jones, I still need to see a lot more of before I believe that this isn't going to be his last season in a Giants uniform. So I'm going to go with the Panthers on this one. It is a home game for the Giants, so anything can happen. If they do win this game, I'm going to have a completely different mindset surrounding them, but I really think they should be 0-1 right now, and I don't think they'll win this one either. Patriots at Steelers. This is a tough one because, yes, the Steelers had a big win against the Bengals, but TJ Watt is now out, and they're going to have to rely on Mitch Trubisky even more in this game because their defense isn't going to be quite as good. That being said, the Patriots offense really looked rough in their game against the Dolphins, so this might be kind of just a slugfest between two teams that are just as meh as they come. And I think that I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers in this one. I say they win this one. And I only am going to pick that because, A, they still have some solid weapons on defense. Like, they still have a pretty decent defense. The rest of their defensive line is still solid. Plus, it is a home game. I think if it was a home game for the Patriots, I would kind of start leaning their way a little bit more. But I'm going to go with the Steelers because it's at home. This is one where I think it'll be a pretty boring game where two, like I said, meh teams are going to slug it out. Colts at Jaguars. This is a spicy one due to the fact that the Colts and the Jaguars was that game last year where the Colts just needed to win against the Jaguars to make the playoffs, and guess what? They didn't get it done. Of course, Wentz was their quarterback at that point. Matt Ryan just came off of a game where he completed 32 for 50 with 352 yards passing and a touchdown. And I think that Michael Pittman is going to continue to develop here. Jonathan Taylor had a crazy day rushing the football, and this is going to be another team that I am concerned about, a lot like the Titans and Browns, where, they are going to have to start relying on their pass. And they did do a great job passing the football in week 1. but they were kind of imposing their will against the Texans passing the ball. They just couldn't get the ball in the end zone, which is going to be a thing that they're going to have to focus on a lot. So I am concerned a little bit about their ability to score in the red zone without Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think this is going to be a game where Jonathan Taylor is shut down. I think that he will impose his will rushing the football against the Jaguars. We'll have to see going forward if teams are going to stack the box more against him, but I don't think the Jaguars have the facilities to match up well against Jonathan Taylor, so I think that the Colts are going to come away with this one, and they're going to get a nice bounce-back win from their tie against the Texans, which should just count as a loss at this point if you're going to keep it that close with a team like the Texans. Dolphins at the Ravens. I think this game, people think this is going to be a closer game than I think it's going to be. I think that the Dolphins, yes, had a good game against the Patriots, but the Patriots didn't really show them a whole lot. I mean, the Dolphins had a pretty easy day of it, and Tua had 270 yards, had a pretty good passing percentage, but I think he went up against a Patriots defense that is a lot more lackluster than it has been in seasons past. Not to mention, they had absolutely no pressure from the opposing offense. The Ravens, on the other hand, are going to come out swinging right off the gate. I have a lot of trust in this Ravens offense as long as they can stay healthy. I still have them as my pick to win the AFC North. Almost forgot. And so I think the Dolphins are a little bit overhyped right now. I think they are definitely on the way up, but I'm going to need to see a little more from them before I believe that they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Ravens, that I believe is going to be one of the better teams in the AFC, honestly, this year. So give me the Ravens in that one. By the way, I had considered maybe going over kind of like predicting the specific scores, but it just seems to be kind of unnecessary because at the end of the day, you always try and pick it closer than you really think it'll be, and the score predictions don't end up really mattering in the long run. Easy pick Rams over the Falcons. The Falcons looked really rough in the fourth quarter, gave away another late game comeback, and I think that the Rams are going to come out with a vengeance. Anytime you lose a game where you were hyped up to begin the season and you just get absolutely your behinds handed to you by the opposing team, you're going to want to come back and make a statement. This is going to be one of those games where you don't just score a few touchdowns and sit on it. The Rams are going to be relentlessly scoring all week long or all game long, and the Falcons are going to be in for a very long day. Matthew Stafford is going to be angry, and he's going to show it. Seahawks at 49ers. I think Geno Smith had a good day on Monday Night Football, passing for 2 touchdowns, but the Broncos defense looked all over the place, and I think that he really took advantage of that. Let's not let one game remind us that Geno Smith has been backup quality his entire career, and I'm not saying I'm not happy for him that he did well in that game, and I will be rooting for him going forward. I just think realistically you can't just watch one game with a backup quarterback doing well and be like, oh yeah, this guy is all of a sudden going to be great. Like Taylor Heineke, for example, people watched that wild card game and all of a sudden they were like, oh, he's going to be the next great quarterback. And maybe that's a little bit of an overstatement. People weren't exactly saying that, but they were saying that he could, be a good starting quarterback in the league, and it was just one game, So I want to see a lot more from Geno Smith before I think he's going to be any kind of decent quarterback for the rest of the season. We're going to need to see a lot more from the rushing attack for the Seahawks as well. And this 49ers team coming off of a tough loss in really bad weather against the Bears, I think that they're going to have a little more of a chip on their shoulder. I think that especially with Jamal Adams missing from this team, I think that the 49ers are going to have a really good game running the football and impose their will, and the 49ers should win this one fairly handily against the Seahawks, especially at home. I'm not going to start overhyping the Seahawks the way some people have been just because they had one good game when they had a chip on their shoulder against their opposing quarterback. Bengals at Cowboys. This is one I think the Bengals are going to take home. Joe Burrow coming off of a game where he threw for 338 yards and 2 touchdowns, and somehow people said that he fell off. Obviously, they did have a little more struggle getting the ball in the end zone, but it wasn't just Joe Burrow's fault. I mean, come on. You have that kind of crazy stat line, and people are still saying you're washed up in your third year. People are just crazy saying things like that. The Cowboys are going to be without Dak Prescott. Let's not waste too much time considering how well Cooper Rush is going to be, because we all know Cooper Rush only plays well against the Vikings because the Vikings let backup quarterbacks absolutely destroy them. So the Bengals are going to take this one. If it was against Dak, I think that it would be a little bit closer, because even with as bad as they looked against the Bucs last week, I think that with Dak Prescott, they'll turn it around a little bit. But without him, I think the Bengals have a pretty easy win here. Broncos and Texans, I think this is another game where, just like I said with the Rams, I think the Broncos are going to come out with a vengeance, get some stuff figured out, as far as communication goes in practice this week. Russell Wilson is going to be playing with even more of a chip after a really tough, deflating loss to his former team. And I think some quarterbacks wouldn't be able to handle that kind of, rough start, but Russell Wilson sure can. And it's still the Texans. I mean, obviously, tough game for the Colts last week, but it's still the Texans. Broncos, especially at home, should be able to impose their will and win this one. Cardinals at Raiders. This is a tough one because I think that Derek Carr played well in week 1. Devontae Adams is already starting off with a sprint, catching 141 yards off of 10 catches and a touchdown. And the Cardinals didn't look great, especially their defense. And the line right now is Las Vegas with a minus 5.5, but I'm still going to go with the Cardinals here. I think it might be a little bit of an upset, especially with the Cardinals having to come into the black hole and get it done, but I do think they'll be able to have a bounce-back game. This game should be pretty close, but I think Kyler Murray is going to turn things around for this team. I believe in him more than I think other people do, and maybe that'll come back to bite me, but I have a feeling they're going to have a good game here and win. It might even be a overtime win, but I think this one's going to be close, and the Cardinals are going to come away with it. 3 more games to go here. We have the Bears at the Packers for Sunday Night Football, and I think this is another one that I think people are saying, oh, don't sleep on the Bears. The Bears, have a good chance of winning this game. Come on. We need to see a lot more from the Bears. They had one good game in just absolutely crazy weather that has to be accounted for. That has to be a factor. They happen to have a good running game in a game where offense and passing the ball was just non-existent against the 49ers last week. And Rodgers is going to figure things out with his wide receivers. And the defense alone, I think, is going to take care of the Bears here. I think the Bears' offense is still in shambles. Offensive line's in shambles. And I think this Packers team could potentially win this game even if the offense scores 10 points, honestly. The Packers, I think, need 10 to 17 points to win this game on offense. But I think they'll get more than that, and they should win this one handily. As much as I want to see the Packers continue to lose, I think that they're going to start turning it around, and especially against the Bears, that's a good team to be able to start turning it around against. Monday Night Football, we're going to go with the Titans at the Bills, and I think the Bills should win this one as well. The Titans coming off of a deflating loss. I think that the Bills have the personnel to be able to not necessarily contain Derrick Henry, but limit him to the best of their ability, and I think they'll be able to do that well enough to be able to get this win. The Bills are a team that I need to see them lose before I'm going to pick them to win every single game until they lose, and then I will reevaluate because they just are looking fantastic going out of this first week. And if they can stay healthy, I think they'll be Super Bowl favorites all year long, especially in a very winnable division. So let's go with the Bills there. And then Vikings at Eagles. So my very next video, I'm hoping to upload it tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But that video is going to be a full breakdown of the Vikings-Eagles, kind of the key factors of the game, and some predictions for what I think might happen. But I will still do kind of a quick prediction for the game, and then I'll explain it more in my next video. I'm going to say the Eagles win this one. I think that it's going to be a very close game potentially, and I think the Vikings can easily win. Like, I think that this is a game that I wouldn't be surprised if either team won, and I sure hope the Vikings win. But I just think this is the kind of game that the Vikings are coming off of a huge win against their big rival in the NFC North, in the Packers. They really hand it to Rodgers, and kind of coming off of the high of that win, especially with a new coach and everything, I think they might come off in this game a little bit slow. I still believe in them this year, but I think this is going to be a tough game for them to win, especially with Miles Sanders playing well last week. I think that our run defense is still a little bit suspect. Hopefully we can contain him well enough, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence. Not to mention the fact that I think this Eagles defensive front is going to bully our offensive line a little too much, and also at the Eagles is very difficult to play in. Is it still called Lincoln Financial Field? Playing there is really difficult. The fans are obviously, not only are they super toxic, they are also admittedly really loud and difficult to play against. I think the Eagles will take this one home. So there you have it. Just a quick breakdown. We have, ready? Chargers, Browns, Lions, Bucks, Panthers, Steelers, Colts, Ravens, Rams, 49ers, Bengals, Broncos, Cardinals, Packers, Bills, and Eagles coming out with the wins in week 2. And just like I did last week on Tuesday, I'm hoping I can go in and break down all these games and say what I did right and what I did wrong with these predictions, and we'll go all over it, and everyone can make fun of me again just like they did last week. So thanks again so much for watching this one. Again, please make sure you like and subscribe if you like this content. More stuff is coming in the next week, probably with the Twins, and they have that big 5-game series against the Guardians that by the time this video comes out, it'll be maybe halfway into the first game of that series, and a lot of stuff coming up in October that I'm really excited for. So make sure you tune in more and more along the journey, and I'm really excited to keep going with this. So thanks again, and I will see you on the flip side.